Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sherri, and today I want to talk a little bit about something a little bit separate of the 3D interference, but it's still really relative right now. And I think it's important to kind of pivot in this direction because it's going to be a useful tool for people to put the dots together and discern for themselves what their bodies are trying to, what is our body trying to tell us. And our body gives us so many different signs, and it's a really valuable tool to understand how to um, how to kind of connect the dots and self-diagnose ourselves, because it all starts energetically, and then things manifest in a physical way. So some people refer to it as body talk, but our body has a language that it gives us, and we live through our experiences in the astral and energetic, and then it manifests in the physical sense. So our body and our light body are very important and fundamental, that they work together in unison and in a very harmonious kind of uh, detail from moment to moment, and it's really important. And that's where our balance comes in, and why it's really important to recognize the signs when we are feeling off balance. Our body will give us subtle signs to let us know that something is not right, because we are such energy bodies. The way our body can talk to us is through different things like pain and ailments and disease, to let us know what's going on in the metaphysical aspect of ourselves. So it's a really fundamental way to discern where we are. Not only, a lot of people want to know, am I 3D or 5D, or kind of, what's my origin, and all of these things. But really at the root of all of that is truly understanding our own vibration, our own physical body. How do we communicate with our body? How does our body communicate with us? And the subtle ways and not so subtle ways that process takes place. And so I want to talk about different facets of that, and ways that you can kind of discern or decipher the subtle signs that your body is telling you every single day, to let you know where you are vibrationally, where you are consciously, and so many different factors, and to kind of tell on your own if you have blockages, as opposed to wondering or asking somebody else if you have blockages, because I guarantee you'll be able to locate them on your own, by using simple tools that you may not have thought about. So I'm just going to start with the basics here. And let's split the body into two segments. So we have the left side of the body, and we have the right side of the body. So if we split our body down the center and we segregate it from the left side over here and the right side over here, if we just look at our physical ailments or pain or anything that we're having, that we notice in our body, that is on either side of our bodies, is a tool or is a clue in and of itself. So anything that, because we're multidimensional beings, and we're starting to really connect to that multifaceted, multidimensional aspect of ourself, there are so many clues. And the left side of our body tends to hold energy and cellular memory of past life, energy that's coming through, or as we know, it's not really past life, it's alternative or parallel realities or other aspects of ourself. So that's going to come through on the left side. So if you tend to have any kind of like sudden shoulder pain or hip pain or anything on the left side of the body, that's a clue that some aspect of a past life or another timeline is coming through. And I always call them bleed throughs. There's a lot of bleed throughs right now, because the layers in between these different realities are so thin that there's a lot of bleed throughs, where we're having spontaneous memories or knowings or abilities to tap into these other aspects of these other timelines that we're in, that can be in a completely different era, seemingly in the past or seemingly in the future versions of ourselves. But also, there's generally or oftentimes more than one fractal of ourself, even in the current era. So there could be another version of myself somewhere out in the world, in the galaxy. It doesn't have to be on this planet, that I may be tapping into at any given moment, whether it's through dreams or just a conscious knowing, or I'm in a meditative state and I have a flash. So if we have traumas, specifically, that are triggers for us that are coming up and surfacing at this time, it's going to show in our or on our left side of the body. So if we have any kind of pain or any kind of acute ailment or something that is on the left side, specifically your left eye, your left, molars or your teeth, which I got to remember to talk more about teeth towards the end, your left arm, your hand, your left hand, your left, just anything on the left side of the body. That is going to be a key indicator that you're working through, or something is surfacing from another life that you are living that needs to be addressed at this time, or you are processing at this time, or you are releasing at this time. Now, I believe that this is a dominant timeline that we are all in, meaning that we can have kind of these recessive or not, I guess, not dominant timelines that we have, not a lot of energy backing, and it's not really a big part of the whole lives that we live in, that maybe we're learning minor things in these other timelines or in these other places. And then this timeline, being a main timeline, is going to take precedence, because a lot of healing is occurring, a lot of learning is occurring, a lot of teaching is occurring, or all of the above in this particular timeline. So anybody watching this right now, living in this reality right now, in this moment, is in a dominant timeline. And I believe most of us have chosen to be here to be of service in some way. I've talked about this in many different forms, in books, in interviews, and in other videos. So I won't go into that specifically right now. But because of that, it means that you are utilizing this vessel, this body that you've chosen to come into, as a conduit of healing. So we are pulling, sometimes, or a lot of times, more than we think, we are pulling in other traumas from other lives, other bodies of our own, into this life, and it's showing up on the left side of the body as some sort of acute pain, or even chronic pain. If it's something that you're not able to work through, and it goes from an acute issue to a chronic issue, and it means that you're still resolving it, and that may not be your fault. It just means that it's going to take a while. So it's an acute, seemingly chronic issue, but in reality, it's meant to be that way. So try not to look at everything from one view. There's so many different reasons for everything, and sometimes your mind will be blown when you realize the why, and you're like, oh man, that makes so much sense. So not only are we pulling in other aspects of other realities of ourselves, but we're also participating unknowingly, for many, in ancestral healing. So you're pulling in your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-great-grandmother, et cetera, and so on, their pain and their traumas. So it's manifesting physically on the left side of the body again, because that's the clue that because it's on this side of the body, that it's not coming necessarily from a trauma or something that's healing from this life. Now, if you have same thing, if you have it on the right side of the body, then it's likely something that is acute in this life that you are working through, or you are healing, or it's not necessarily yours, but you have chosen to participate in someone in your family, or ancestral healing, or your children's healing, and you're purposely taking it on. Like, for example, many empaths are going to struggle with this because they willingly take on the burden of their family, their children, their loved ones, because they want so much for them to heal, or to be better, in a better place. So we will, in essence, willingly take on their pain. And mothers do this all the time. I mean, I do it almost on a daily basis. If I see that any of my children are struggling, if they're sad, depressed, upset, worried, or sick, I even think to myself, I would love to take that. I'll take that on for them. But I have to also remember that this is part of their journey, and I can't just take everything on for them, because perhaps they've signed up for this exact emotion or this exact experience that they're going through. And if I take it on for them, then they don't learn anything, and then it'll probably surface again twofold, maybe down the line, and it may be in a way that they're not necessarily prepared for. So we're not always doing service to other people as empaths by taking on the burden of their pain, because sometimes they need to feel that pain. So it's a very delicate balance. But back to my point, if it's on the right side of the body, it's generally something that you're working through or processing from this life, but also it can be a conscious pulling of energy or agreement to assist in your children, parents, spouse, siblings, friends, energy, and their healing. And you're doing that willingly. Animals do that all the time. Like I'm talking mostly domestic animals. I talked about that in my webinar and a little bit in my books, that animals will willingly pull in our energy to heal, to help us heal, or to pull limited beliefs, or just the energetic, you know, garbage that we talk about that we've taken on, that they can easily remove and transmute for us, or they pull it in. It's almost like they're magnets and they're pulling that negative energy out of us. So they're doing that as well, which also can manifest as illness in animals. And I've talked about that many times, but just using them as an example that they have the ability to do that, just like we do as parents, friends, families, etc., that we will do that for other people. So if you have acute or chronic pain on the right side of the body, then you know that it's something that you're working through in this life. And it's something that is very present and it's important. They're all important, but it's something that at least you can pinpoint it to. Okay, this is something that I'm working through from this particular life. Maybe it's some inner child work that I need to do, and it's something from my childhood or some other moment in time in this particular timeline that you are healing from. So that's something, number one, to keep in mind when you're kind of evaluating, doing a self-evaluation of what your ailments are. And I recommend everybody, when they have time, to just make a list. You know, make a list of the things that you feel are surfacing right now for you, and make a list, and then start to discern or distinguish what side of the body it's on. And you can start there, and then you can say, oh wow, I have a few here on both sides, or oh wow, Sherri, looks like everything is past life, or everything is coming up in this life. Okay, so there's a starting point. Now you know where you're not feeling so overwhelmed, because as I talked about in my book, and I've talked about in other interviews that I've done, where I believe where we're going in the medical field or the healing field, as these paradigms of control and pharmaceuticals break down, we are going to go back to the ancestral kind of indigenous way of root cause. You know, how do we get back to the root cause of our ailment? What's really, it's not a headache. It's not a stomach ache. It's not arthritis. It's not inflammation. Let's go beyond that a couple steps further and see where it started. And I have a lot of experience with that, because as a Reiki master, in my training, it's something that I learned, and it really surfaced a lot when I was doing my first sessions on people. When I transitioned from animals to people, I saw it come up, and it was so helpful for me to figure out what was going on with the people, where I didn't even want to know about their ailments. Because, and I talked about this in my book in good detail, let's start with the emotional aspect. What's going on in your life? What are some of the emotions you're going through right now? What are you feeling? And that from there, I could make my own pathway and figure out, okay, where in the body is that usually held or stored or connected to? And then I would say, okay, so are you having digestive issues as a result of this? And they'd say, yeah, how did you know? And I say, well, there's a pathway. And it's not a secret. It's not something that I know and nobody else knows. It's very available for us to research these things, but we're just not taught that in school, and we're not aware of it. And most of us, if we're not aware, we just go and say, okay, what's the quick fix? I have stomach ache, give me this medication, or I have a headache, give me the medication. And then we never get to the root cause. And then this is how we spend our life, because we're in such fight or flight, this survival mentality, and this reality that we need everything to be fast, quick, instant healing, instant this, instant that, and we don't make any life changes. We don't change our diet. We don't change many things, and we just focus on that pill or whatever it is that's going to fix the ailment in the moment, but then it's not going to take care of the root cause of it. So our bodies are constantly giving us signs. I mean, our body is truly a reflection of our reality, of our emotional wellness, of our emotional and our mental state of awareness. They're always clues. They're always trying to let us know something. Our bodies talk to us, and they do that on purpose, because they let us know when we need to make a pause, reevaluate, think things through differently, and just sometimes just take a moment and take a pause. So we have our chakra systems. I'm not going to go through all the chakras, because that's a whole other video. I've done that many times. Then I do go into the chakras in my first book, and I think I have some videos on it. But our chakras really are valuable, kind of these energy centers from these pathways from the physical body to the light body, our multidimensional self. It's like the pathway in between the two. So if you have even just basic knowledge of where the main 7 are in the body, I mean, there's a lot more. There are minor chakras, and then there's chakras that expand outside of our energy field. But if you just focus on the main 7, the main ones that can give us so many clues as to what the connection is between the emotional, mental, and then the physical ailment. It's life-saving. It can really help you discern, because if you have chronic stomach aches, you know that stomach aches are connected to the solar plexus and the sacral chakra predominantly, then we know that the solar plexus is our emotional center, and it's likely that we are feeling like we don't have enough confidence, or we are not feeling like we have a good connection to ourselves and our reality, and we have anxiety and nervousness about something. And so if we take it and we dissect it down and we recognize the emotional component first, then we say, okay, how can I address the anxiety as opposed to how can I address the stomach ache? So it just takes it one step further. So we have the root chakra, which is our connection to the earth. It's really our primal chakra. It's that aspect of ourself that really makes us feel grounded and connected to this physical body and this planet. So a lot of galactic, highly galactic and cosmic beings that are starseeds that are here now, that are really just homesick. I want to go home. I don't feel like I belong here. I don't understand this place. I feel like I'm not connected to anything or drawn to anything. Those people generally have a blocked or unhealthy, or the root chakra is not flowing properly. And the root chakra is going to connect to the lower spine, the hips, the digestive tract. So focusing more so on the colon, the large intestine, and the small intestine. It can also be connected to the male or sexual organs, and the prostate and the testicles, and so there's a lot of overlapping and connection in the lower chakras of the body, and they can overlap. But if you are having many people have lower back pain or sciatic pain or hip pain. So, are you not feeling supported in your life? If you're having, this acute lower back throbbing or back pain, and you didn't exercise, or you didn't do anything that you think would have caused some sort of acute injury or swelling or inflammation in that area, then it's likely that you need to evaluate, who are the key players in your life? Do you feel like they are supporting you? Do you feel like you are lost in your direction and where you're headed in life, where you hate your job, or you don't feel like you have a solid foundation under your feet? So you feel like you're floating. You feel like you're lost. You feel like you have fear of finances and money, and you're concerned about money. Well, this can really put a strain on the lower part of your body. And it can manifest in a lot of different ways. So the lower back pain, slip disc is, you don't have that solid anywhere, herniated disc anywhere in the back, you don't feel supported. You don't feel like the world around you is supporting your needs. So you feel like you're just sliding. There's not a solid foundation. You don't feel like you have like solid footing to put your feet down on something, where you feel like you're just slipping. That's that aspect of the slip disc is vulnerability. There's a vulnerability. Your spine in general is your backbone, literally, but it's like the pillar in when you're building a home, and you have the strong concrete foundation, and then you build the walls around it. That's our spine for us. That's our foundation. That's our solidity that makes us feel like we are standing up straight and sturdy, and we're not vulnerable. And when people are hunched over and they're feeling this sense of not belonging or not feeling supported or sturdy, then their spine will start to have weaknesses, and it's more susceptible. So focusing on the spine, if you go to the middle of the spine as opposed to the lower acute pain that we were just talking about, the middle of the spine is generally more related to kind of, well, number one, implants. So a lot of people and I talked about this in my cord cutting class, I've talked about this in other videos I know I have, where a lot of the implants that we get or attachments from other people or entities will oftentimes come in from the back because we're not participating in it. So it's coming up from the back side and it'll land right smack in the middle of our back. And that is a lot of that. It almost takes your breath away, really. I feel like I can't breathe. It's like you're being pulled. Something behind you is pulling you back. And that is oftentimes it can be implants or negative entities. I have some notes here so I don't forget. It could be guilt. It could be your feelings of being stuck, maybe into past. It could be lack of forgiveness, or connections to people from your past. And you feel like you're stuck. You can't move forward. And maybe you're feeling guilty about something. Maybe you're torn between your work and then not being there for your children, or being focused on one thing and lacking in another areas, and you have guilt associated with that. So you're feeling like the middle of your back is going to feel strained, and there's not going to be a lot of energy flow there, and that's the vulnerability. 5 people could have the exact same fall or injury, or something could happen to 5 exact same people. Maybe they're the same weight, same height, same everything. Both, let's say they're all female. They all are 5'5". They all weigh the same amount. I'm not going to say because I don't even know what that is, but whatever the average weight and height and all of that, let's say that. So they're all generally the same. 2 of them could be severely injured. 2 of them could have minor injuries, and 1 has absolutely nothing. So what makes, and I'm saying these people are all generally healthy, same height, same weight, same factors. What makes one more vulnerable to that, some more severe injury than somebody who has no injury or right in the middle? Well, that has a lot to do with the energy of our body and our stability and our groundedness and our connectedness and our chi. And if our energy centers are balanced and we don't have any vulnerability, let's say in this particular example, in our spine, then that same injury for that one person, they can get up and be like, "Ooh, that hurt," but they walk away fine. Nothing, no injury, no pain, no nothing. And then someone else who has kind of this minor feeling of guilt, and it's unresolved and they're working through it, but not completely, they're going to have some minor injury, but it's not going to be that bad. Now, for those that are, let's say, really feeling guilt or not supported, or like they're in a bad place, and their chakras are just not aligned, and they're just, they're feeling heavy and their vibration is low, then they're going to have an extreme vulnerability in that spine. So that same injury for that person is going to be more severe. And that's when they have the slip disc or some other injury, a break, that is much more severe. So that's how different people could have the same injury based on their vibrational state, their consciousness, all of their energy pathways being open or unopen can really determine the outcome. So to keep that in mind as well, and that's why it varies. If you're having issue in your upper spine, like the back, upper back, that can be, feeling like you're not emotionally supported. Maybe there's lack of love in your life. Maybe you're feeling like your spouse is cheating on you, or you're not sure if they love you anymore, or you're an empty nester and your children have left the home and you're feeling like you don't have a purpose anymore and you're really lonely, or maybe it's as a result of the whole dynamics of this world, and you're the outsider of your family now, and because you didn't do this and all these other things, they kicked you out, and they said you're crazy person, cuckoo, and they don't want you around the grandchildren, or your children have outcasted you, or whatever it may be. You've broken up with somebody now, or you've lost a bunch of friends. That will really take a toll on the upper back, because that's like your emotional stability of, I have friends and loved ones, and I'm feeling like they get me and I get them, and all of that. So those people can have acute shoulder pain, upper spine pain in the spine, or just this, heaviness. I got hiccups. Heaviness in their shoulders, and so keep that in mind as well. Shoulder pain. We also, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be not all over the place and be very organized with my thoughts, but it's hard to do that sometimes. Your shoulders are one place that a lot of people tend to carry their burdens or their worries, and that's a whole other thing. So if you tend to get chronic heaviness in your shoulders, where you're feeling like, oh, it's like I need a massage, or it's really tense or really tight or really heavy and it's like achy, I get this a lot, then that is likely where you tend to hold your emotions, those limiting beliefs, those um, um, what's the word I'm trying to think of? The trapped emotions. Your trapped emotions that go in your body, and you don't breathe it out, and you don't release the fear, and you don't release the anger towards somebody, and it builds up, the fear, the anxiety, the stress can cause heaviness here, and this feeling of heaviness here. Other people, the other commonplace is your lower back. So a lot of people will have lower back pain because they are suddenly feeling like, okay, I'm not letting it go. I'm holding too much in right now. Headaches, if we go up to the head, headaches or migraines, vertigo, dizziness, things like that are cloudiness in our head. We're not maybe trusting our intuition. We've got too many thoughts coming through. We don't know how to process them. We're feeling overwhelmed. A lot of people who are newly awakened, and they're trying to figure out who to believe, what to believe, how to believe it, who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth, what do I watch, what don't I watch. That's causing a lot of doubt. Oh, and feelings of I'm overwhelmed, and that can manifest in the head as this cloudy energy, this stagnant energy. It's not flowing through properly, so it can cause the migraines, the headaches, blurred vision, tension headaches, especially here or in the back of the spine of the head right there as well. So that's something to keep in mind of. Now, remember, there's multi-dimensional reasons for everything I'm saying. So I've talked about this a lot, so I don't want to get into it now, but just remember, I have given the other videos where I've explained the starseed high vibrational energy coming through side effects as well. So that could be our body's going from carbon to more crystalline, and we're changed. So the changes, so the more light coming in our body can also cause headaches. Acute opening of our crown chakra, our pineal gland, or all this energy coming through, or all this sudden connection to our guides, that can also cause headaches. So you really have to figure out where you are in your awakening process to then decide, okay, are these head pains, like what Sherri's saying, am I feeling overwhelmed about life, or am I feeling overwhelmed by downloads and things that are coming through? What area do you feel more connected to? Is it more 3D stuff, or is it more spiritual awakening, light coming through that's causing the headaches and the open chakra and the open pineal because it's activating, or not? So you have to discern that as well. It's not a simple formula. This gets really complicated, and I'm trying my best to explain it the best I can. But just remember that when you feel like you figured it out, then you realize you haven't, and there's a whole other aspect of it. But it's nice to know at least what I'm telling you, so that you can feel like you got your footing, and you're not going crazy. And number two, you don't need to run necessarily to the doctor. Although I'm not a doctor, disclaimer, I'm not telling anybody to skip the doctor. But perhaps there are other issues, or if you can get to the root cause yourself, you don't have to rely on the doctor for them to just, most of the time, write a prescription and send you home with some sort of meds and get you out the door so they can continue the assembly line of all the other people on the conveyor belt coming through. You can figure out what your best needs are based on the root cause or the root symptoms that are generally emotional, or your mental state of being will give you these signs. So you're making life changes based on, okay, how can I address the fear? How can I address the anxiety? How can I address these certain things? And that will eventually resolve the physical, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like you're going one step deeper. What else? Arthritis can be, again, arthritis manifests all over the body, in the joints and all areas of the body. So arthritis in general can be kind of holding on to limiting beliefs or resentment, or again, also not feeling supported, not feeling loved, maybe feeling judged. So your whole body just aches because you're holding on to so much and you're not letting it go. So it just manifests all over the place. Like rheumatoid arthritis is definitely connected to that, but also inflammation in the body, which kind of goes hand in hand with arthritis, can also be related to fear, suppressed emotion. It could be an overall manifestation of a lot of different things, and your body's feeling like, I gotta hold on to these fluids, and then you become inflamed and bloated because your body is looking for ways to make itself feel more sturdy. And our body will do that. Our physical body will do that by weight gain. Our body will hold on to weight and water retention, which causes inflammation and achy joints, because our body is interpreting our emotional state of feeling like you are having a lot of, you have a lot of fear, and you're not supported and you're scared. So your body will get into this fight or flight, this survival mode. And in turn, it will hold on to the food that you eat and the water you drink, and it'll hold on to everything it can as an attempt to anchor itself in a very primal way, if that makes sense, so that you are not letting go. You're feeling heavier. You have a solid foundation, and that's obviously not a healthy way to do it. We're holding on. We're gaining weight. So a lot of people right now who are feeling like they're holding the space, which is probably almost 100% of the people who are drawn to watch my videos, are feeling swollen, bloated, or have weight gain, sudden weight gain. Or acute weight gain, maybe over the last 6 months or the last year or even less. People who are holding the space are literally holding on to the energy, and their body is kind of like feeling like I'm feeling a lot of uncertainty. I'm taking on too much, so I'm going to make sure that I make myself heavier so I can have more solid foundation, if that makes sense. So we can also breathe a lot of that out. I teach. I think I've mentioned it in all 3 books and almost every interview that I do, and probably annoyed people at this point, but breathing is my absolute favorite, because you can lose weight from just breathing simply by removing energy that no longer serves your highest good. I have many affirmations that I've explained to people, or I've put on all over the place, where you are releasing any energy that's no longer serving your highest good at this time. You choose to release it now. You take deep breaths and you let it go. And you do that for several minutes, a couple times a day if you need to, or more, whenever you're feeling. I mean, you're just breathing, so no one needs to know. You're not saying these things, the affirmation portion of it out loud, although you can. And you're just mindfully, every single day, mindfully and intentionally bringing up any energy that's not serving your highest good, or any energy that I've taken on for my family or friends, any energy that's not in alignment with my highest good at this time. I choose to release it now. And you hold it in, and then you long exhale, and you do that for 5, 6, 7 breaths or more, a couple minutes, and you'll feel yourself like light. You'll feel the load light, and you'll feel like you can breathe again, and you'll literally feel lighter. And if you get in the habit of doing that every single day, your body will get the message that it doesn't need to hold on to the fat or the water, or the energy that then manifests into those things. And it's not necessary, and you are safe. You reiterate, you are safe, you are loved, you are supported. I'm so grateful that the universe, I'm so grateful that I'm universally supported, protected, and loved. I say that sometimes 3, 4 times a day if I need to, just randomly as it pops in my mind. And I say, I'm so grateful. I'm not asking for it. I say, I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful I'm divinely protected, supported, and loved. I'm so grateful that my children are divinely supported, protected, and loved. I say it all the time. When I feel stressed, I just take deep breaths and I let it go. And I say, I'm not holding this. I'm intentionally letting this go right now. And so I've noticed that over the years, I have way less and less ailments. And when I do, whether it's the shoulder pain, or I get the lower back pain, or sometimes I'll get the arthritis. Interestingly for me, what's popped up is I've had more arthritis in my left hand recently, just randomly. It just aches out of nowhere. So I know, okay, I'm working through something that's not in this lifetime. And then I consciously will do breath work, where I'm saying any past life energy that's coming through at this time, that's manifesting in my physical body, I choose to release it. Now, you don't need to know where it's coming from. You don't need to know necessarily a long lesson. You don't need to write a book report about it. You don't need to talk to anybody about it necessarily, unless you want to. You don't have to dissect it. Like that's too much of a primal instinct that we have, a cognitive left brain, muscle memory that we have to, okay, I want to dissect it. I want to write it down. I need to understand it. I want to think about it and process it for days. We don't need to do that anymore. We're so more multidimensionally connected now than we were previously years ago, that long-term healing, I believe, is the past. And we really truly are working towards instant healing. And it's possible. I truly believe it. And I've seen it, because sometimes when I've done those things for myself, where I say, okay, I recognize this is something I'm pulling in from a past life. I do some breathing exercises. Maybe I'll go to the beach. It's not just, it doesn't go away instantly, but I'll do other things. Like I'll go to the beach. I'll prioritize some of my alone time, or whatever it is that I want, that I do for me, that works. And then I notice the next day it's gone, or maybe even hours later it's gone, or sometimes honestly in the moment it has gone. So it works. It's just all about us being mindful about what our body is trying to tell us. And then telling your body, I love, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. Love your body. If you hate your body, if you look at your body in the mirror and think of all the things that you hate about it, or you get mad at your body, what's wrong with you? Why did I get cancer? How dare you? Instead of recognizing, hey, your body took on a lot. And sometimes tumors are our body's way of bringing in a lot of toxins into one location. And I know it's a lot of people die from it, and there's a lot of negative, dark aspects of it, but there's also some good. It's let your body is doing its job and putting all of that energy into one space. But the good news is that in a higher density, cancer exists in a different way. And what I mean by that is in the same situation mirrored, but in a higher density. If I'm holding on to, let's say I'm upset and I'm angry. Let's say I'm an angry person and I have so much anger and I'm so bitter that my heart starts to kind of close off. And then I have trouble breathing because I just don't want to let it go. And I hold it in, and I develop some sort of tumor in my lung, my metaphysical me, not me, my metaphysical me in this example. That could turn into a whole thing in this reality, the third density, which I don't need to get into. You guys know what happens if this person gets a lung cancer, and the chemo and the this and the that and all the things that come with it, right? That same manifestation, physical manifestation of holding in or all the anger or the resentment and all of these things in a higher density version of myself, what happens is it's going to hoard it all together in one energetic ball or something, whatever. And in a higher density field, all you have to do is you recognize it and say, I'm so grateful that my body was able to usher all of these negative dark cells together to create a lump so that it doesn't affect the rest of my body. And then you focus on it. And with your light and your ability to heal, self-heal, you can transmute it and then release it. And that's, I believe, where we're headed, with the ability to do such miraculous things, seemingly miraculous to us, but in reality, it's just normal for dimensional, high density beings that were our ancestors, or are our ancestors, or the indigenous, or those from other planetary systems or other galactic beings, and how they do it. So if you think of it, just sometimes it just takes us rethinking or shifting our perspective to recognize that there is so much more to this reality than we see. There's so many more reasons to it. And if we look at our body and our ailments as a valuable tool, then we can say, okay, got it. Thank you, body, for giving me that sign. Now, what am I going to do with it? What do I do next? And then you just start to focus on your life and how you can make life changes. And if you can't, and you're absolutely stuck and you're feeling like that no matter what you do, you can't change these situations, then what you do is you at least breathe it out and say, I don't need to hold on to this. I know that I can't shift my environment in the moment, but I can shift my mentality and the way I feel about it and my emotional wellness as with regard to this particular situation that is unchangeable in this moment, in this given moment. And you just do the breathing and you say, I release any and all energy associated with this experience, this trauma, this time that I don't need, that's not serving me, and you let it go. And you do that 3, 4, 5 times a day if you need to, so that you're actively, intentionally, and willingly bringing it to the surface, letting it go. So at least you can't change the environment, let's say, but you can change the way that you react to it, or how your body perceives it or responds to it, if that makes sense. So there's always something that we can do. It may not be a physical change, but it is an emotional, mental, and energetic change. And sometimes those are even more valuable than the energetic or physical change, because the energetic and emotional shift in energy can sometimes reposition us, shift our vibration, and realign us with a better circumstance that we couldn't have done had we not shifted the emotional aspect first. And then suddenly something opens for us, a door opens, some transition, and then we're like, we got out of there. But you couldn't see that alternative, that option in the moment where you were immersed in that energy, and your perception was focused on this negative outlook on, oh, I can't change it. There's nothing I can do. I don't have the money and I can't do this, and all the reasons why you can't. So, okay, I'll focus on releasing the negative energy, balancing and grounding myself. And then suddenly your vibration shifts. And before you know it, whoa, this other opportunity pops up, or this change occurs sometimes so fast you didn't even realize it. So different ways to look at different things is simply that my intention in this video is your body is constantly talking to you. It's just a matter of, are you listening to it? And then what do you do about it next? Getting the information is just half the battle, because then you have to actually do something and make some decisions and some different choices. And that is equally important as knowing. So just looking at my notes, there's so much more. I could talk about this for hours, but you know, I just want to put that in the forefront of your thoughts, so that if you're having ailments, that you can work to decipher, or maybe come up with your own body talk dictionary. Because for you, it might be, if you notice a pattern where you always seem to get a ringing in your right ear, and you realize this pattern months later, and you look back, and every time I had a ringing in my right ear, I made a new life change, or something shifted the trajectory of where I was going in my life. So there's always patterns there, and it can be different for different people. So just because I say it's one thing for a lot of people doesn't mean that it's for everybody. So come up with your own little dictionary or your own list, so that you know what these ailments mean for you that might be different from somebody else, so we don't make abrupt conclusions, and then it doesn't necessarily help you, so you feel like, you know, Sherri, you're wrong. And maybe I am wrong. Sometimes I could be wrong. I'm not right all the time, but I do hope that I'm right a majority of the time. Otherwise, I shouldn't be doing this anymore, right? Then I need to go back and relearn a lot of things, and then come back with a different perception for all of you. But let me know what you guys are thinking about this. Let me know what specific ailments you are experiencing, and then maybe we can work as a group and a community in the comments to figure out what's going on with that, with you or someone you know. And then when I do a live again in the near future, we can also talk more about it then. So if you don't know about the chakras, you know, research them and just see there. And I have charts, and it's in my first book, where it's the emotional component connected to the chakra, the physical organ or body system, and then the kind of the mental connection. So if you know, so what's your life circumstance, you can distinguish based on your emotions what chakra it's related to, and then from there you can see what body organs and things are connected, and then you'll be able to backtrack, and vice versa. If you're having chronic issues with thyroid, generally thyroid mostly for women have to do with your throat chakra. So what's going on with your voice? Are you feeling like you're able to speak your mind? Are you holding back your truth? So there's a diagnosis for everything based on the emotional component. But if you want to reverse and go backwards, start with your ailment and then work your way to the chakra and then the emotions that are connected to it. And maybe what I'll do is I'll place the chart from my book somewhere, maybe in YouTube community or something. I'll post the chart that I have published in my book. But there are so many, you don't need mine. I mean, there's a million you can look at, and they've done the work already as well. So, but point being, put your wellness into your own hands and be your own detective. And you will be able to do so many things when you discover this little secret, which is not really a secret, but it's a secret if you didn't know it, but now you do. And you can help many people. You can help your children, your family, for those that are open to it. And this is a really valuable tool. So I hope this was helpful for all of you today. I hope this video has found all of you well. Until next time, I'll see everybody soon. Bye, everybody.